My name is Dr. Lishan Aklog. I'm Chairman and CEO of PortIO's parent company, PAVmed, as well as PortIO, which was a spin-out. I just want to thank the LSI folks. This is my 6th consecutive meeting. It is my first time being the opening act, so I appreciate everybody being here bright and early. So PortIO, as a development stage medical device company, as I mentioned, we spun this out from the parent company, PAVmed, and it's focused on a novel long-term vascular access technology. And the goal here is really just to provide a simpler, safer, and more cost-effective option to, there's a wide spectrum of patients who require vascular access. So vascular access devices, as most of you know, are implanted in patients to deliver medications, fluids, nutritions, other substances, typically into a vein over a wide range of treatment durations. So in the emergency room, we're sort of within 48 hours of an emergency on an inpatient basis, or for long-term care, 6 weeks for intravenous antibiotics, things like that, and for up to a year for chemotherapy and other hematologic treatments. And there are a variety from simple peripheral IVs all the way to implantable portacaths that we've used for decades, and many of these are quite common. There is another pathway called the intraosseous device as well, which we'll be talking about. The traditional venous access devices have limitations. They're subject to occlusion, about a third of them clot off. They're subject to infection, including life-threatening infections, bloodborne infections. And a key element here is that many patients have limited venous access. About 10% of patients have poor veins, and also dialysis patients who need long-term access. You're trying to preserve their veins for future access. They tend to require surgical, at least the longer-term ones require surgical insertion and removal, radiographic confirmation, and then the key part here is that they require, the long-term access devices typically require maintenance with regular flushes. So there's this pathway that many are not aware of, but has been around for a long time, for many decades, called intraosseous or IO vascular access. And that's infusing directly into the bone marrow, not into a vein. And this has been well-established modality for decades in the military as well as in pediatric emergencies. And it's been shown over those decades to be biologically equivalent to the intravenous route. However, it's currently limited to less than 48 hours. You can see it's just the existing device, one of the two that are available is the Teleflex EZ-IO device. You insert a needle into the bone and you can infuse into the veins in the bone. And it acts just like having a central venous catheter. So we thought there was an opportunity here to take this modality that's been around for decades and apply it to a longer-term application for long-term access. And that's what PortIO is. It's an implantable intraosseous port. It's the first such device that's designed for long-term use. And it's, you can see here, its design, it's quite simple. It looks like a miniature version of a port, but instead of a little catheter coming out, it's got a hollow titanium bone screw, which allows you to insert it into the bone marrow. And it's accessed just like a traditional port would be with a Huber needle that goes through the septum. The key thing here is that it's maintenance-free. Unlike all those other access devices, it does not require flushing. There's a biologic reason for that, which is that bone marrow doesn't clot, but that's the bottom line. And we believe it has an opportunity to reduce complications. Lots of opportunities here. Instead of just the early ER emergency setting, 48-hour application, now we can have access to apply this intraosseous route to a broader group of patients, both for inpatient and for outpatient. The market opportunity here is really quite large. This doesn't include an expanded market opportunity that targets dialysis patients to put these devices in to protect their veins so that they can be used for future access. There's also an interesting application in military medicine as well. So this technology is already substantially de-risked. We have robust IP protection. We've been engaged with the FDA for several years. We have an established predictable de novo regulatory pathway. Pilot and GLP animal studies have been completed. We've done a first-in-human study, which I'll talk about. There's a first-generation device that was used for that first-in-human study, and there's a second-generation device that's ready for verification and validation testing. As I'll show, there's an IDE clinical protocol that's ready for FDA approval. The first-in-human study was performed in Colombia, South America, and it would involve successful implantation by local physicians. The training was minimal on implantation. They all had excellent flow, and the protocol involved them for 7 days, going home, coming back every day for an infusion, and it demonstrated 100% patency, confirmed the fact that they did not need regular maintenance. The insertion times were about 5 minutes, and explantation times were less than a minute. So the timeline to commercialization, as we've spun this technology out of the parent company PAVmed, is we're planning on completing the V&V for the Gen 2 device, but going ahead and starting the IDE protocol for a 7-day indication. And that we expect will take between 12 and 18 months before FDA launch. As I mentioned, this was incubated within the parent company, PAVmed. About $9 million has gone into the Gen 1 product development, the animal studies, first in human, and so forth. And we're right now raising $4 million into the subsidiary directly to fund the completion of the Gen 2 development, as well as the clinical trial that will get us to FDA clearance through the de novo pathway. Commercial strategy is pretty straightforward. As always, we intend to start with a small direct sales team and existing distributor networks. The call points are straightforward. These are interventional radiologists and vascular surgeons who are primarily inserting this. However, given the existing application for the existing IO devices, there's a target point to the emergency room as well as hospitalists for that shorter term application, as well as nephrology for the application that I had previously mentioned, and we have a lot of experience on our team with commercialization of medical technologies. The economics here are pretty attractive. Target list price about $1,500. We believe we can secure a target ASP of $800. Our estimated cost of goods at volume is less than $100 and a target gross margin of over 85%. There are existing codes. This is just implanting a long-term vascular access device, so the physicians and the facilities will get access to that. We've actually already had conversations with some of the key players here, sort of the usual suspects in this space on the right, and we believe there is strong interest. Teleflex and BD already have short-term intraosseous devices, and so this would help expand their portfolio, and other companies here that have strong presence in the interventional radiology suite and the vascular surgery target point. As mentioned, one of the advantages of this spinning out from an existing parent company, PAVmed, is that the company has a strong management team already in place with a lot of experience across the board in advancing medical technologies to commercialization. So our overall thesis here is we believe this is really a substantially de-risked but otherwise groundbreaking technology with a very large total addressable market that includes an expanded market opportunity that's quite large, solid IP protection. We've proven this in humans. We have a clear path to FDA clearance based on multiple prior meetings and a finalized protocol for an IDE. The path to commercialization is quite straightforward, and we think there's an attractive M&A target for the expected strategic acquirers with exit points with a good return within 2 to 5 years. So thank you very much for your attention.